We are now in our 8th year of battle with family court and DHS, Polk County, Oregon, Dallas, Oregon. It's Judge Norman Hill, Sara Scott's the caseworker, Sara Hernandez is the DOJ attorney, Steve Walls is the attorney for the children. It's very interesting because you have the foster mother, Carissa Vela, and she's saying to the counselor that on visit days it's very disrupting when the kids have to go for visits. And so I sat there in court today as an observer. I wasn't given the opportunity to talk. And they kept saying the word over and over that the visits are inconsistent or something along those words. Let me see what the word was that they used. Inconsistency. And it's a pejorative word in what they were using it because they made it out like we intentionally miss visits, that I intentionally miss visits, which I don't do. I've been persistently visiting my two kids, Akha McDaniel and Alu McDaniel, for over 7 years. And unless there's a traffic snafu or I'm out of town on work, I go there. I always bring food, stories, you name it. I'm very much involved with those two little kids, as much as I can be. Now, you have to remember that there's a lot of things I can't talk about because someone will intervene. Oh, no, you can't talk about that. And since I don't have an advocate to stand by and tell them to back off, I just have to self-censor and can't talk freely with my kids, which is very unfair because I'm sure that the foster parent can talk all the smack she wants to talk. Now, they were talking about, they're trying to do this construct that ongoing visits, because today the case was about, could DHS have the permission to just terminate all visits? And so they were slinging all this mud that it's traumatic for the kids to go on visits, and if a visit's canceled, it's more traumatic, and blah, 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 okay? Well, the interesting thing is that Alum's 10 and Apis 8, and they're cognizant, and the chickens are coming home to roost. DHS, starting with Aubrey Havocost and Ross Waite, and now Sara Scott, and the DOJ attorneys and the supervisors like Lorelle Gould have done everything possible to alienate us from our children. Some of the specifics of that are that in now 8 years, going on 8 years, we have never had a visit on Christmas with our kids or a birthday or any holiday ever in 8 years. So it's obvious that they have done everything they can to alienate the kids and make sure no meaningful visits would happen on special days. That's only for the foster parents. So I had bought small gas-powered ATVs for our kids that they were just overjoyed to have. And Sara Scott talked a whole lot of bullshit about, give me the manual, make sure they're safe for kids. I'll tell you right now, Sara, fuck you, bitch. That's what you need to be told. You're just an old douchebag, okay? And you made all that smack about what you were going to do, and you never did any of it, and those kids were never allowed to ride their little ATVs that they sat on. They wore the helmets, and you get your rocks off by doing evil little shit to kids. Fuck you, okay? So today in court, they're all talking, all this, the kids are dysregulated, and the visits and blah, 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 and can we just taper down and eliminate any more visits with the father? The mother's nowhere to be found. Makes no contact with the kids. Well, I'm telling my attorney, and of course, he's not listening. I'm telling my attorney, you need to stand up and say, the mother's requested to talk to her kids on the phone for months, and DHS said no, it wasn't allowed because they needed to have an Akha translator. Well, the kids don't speak any Akha, and so she can't talk to them in Akha, okay? And that was Lorelle Gould that said that. No, she can't call in and video call her kids. So fuck you, Lorelle. The reason she hasn't talked to her kids in months is because you prevented her from calling in and having video chats, and this never came up in court, and Judah refused to bring it up in court. You know, I don't get this fucking shit with lawyers. They're like when you go to the doctor and you tell them, you know, I was working today and a piece of shit flew in my eye, a little piece of stone or metal or something, it hurts like hell. And the first thing out of the fucking doctor's mouth is, oh, I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. I've been there. I've had doctors say that kind of shit to me. So when you're telling your lawyer, you need to stand up and say, this woman has called repeatedly and wanted to talk to her kids on the phone, and they denied her that. And then these motherfuckers have the nerve to stand up in court and say there's been no effort at contact. There's been no contact with the mother. Fuck all of you. Okay? Get that as your front name, like Mr. and Mrs. It's fuck you, whoever. All right? Because you're scum. You're child abusers. You lie the fuck out your ass about what's happening, and it's all a fucking lie. Okay? So today the chickens are coming home to roost where these kids are getting older and they're like saying, this is all fucked up. We don't want to offend anybody, but where are our parents? Why can't we talk to mom? Why can't we talk to dad? Are we going to see dad? Well, you restricted visits down to just about nothing. Okay? I have to work for a living, unlike you parasites. And I have to work and pay taxes so I can pay your fucking salaries. Okay? I have to produce something. I have to make something. I have to do something in the market. You don't have to do shit except torment parents and children. So the kids are getting to the age where they're saying this is bullshit. So they got counselors and everything, and they call the counselor in and ask her questions. And well, the little girl, she says that there's no contact or whatever. And well, who did you hear that from? Oh, from the foster mom. So the foster mom gets to tell my daughter anything she wants, okay? And we don't get to say anything to our kids. We can talk about the wallpaper. I can talk about some boat I worked on. But I can't say to my kids, look, I wouldn't have it this way. I would like to have you home with your mom. I'd like to see you more often. I'd like to be able to talk about anything. I'd like to be able to explain what's going on. The state sees it this way. I see it this way. So there's disagreement. So right now, this is all I can do. They're in control of the situation. When they cancel your visits, like at the last 2 minutes before the restaurant visit, it's nobody's fault. When I'm stuck in traffic and have to cancel the visit, then it's inconsistency, a pejorative term used in this context, okay? So anyway, Judge Hill granted them that they can do whatever they want, okay? Well, that's what they've always done. He's never sanctioned DHS for anything they did wrong. So, hey, that's the way it goes. But the chickens are coming home to roost because suddenly even Steve Walls says these kids love both their parents. Oh, no shit. You've done everything to alienate the situation, and you're finally admitting that they both love their parents. Alum stated he wanted to go home. You were supposed to recuse yourself as his attorney when we were in Judge Casso's court, and you didn't do it. Now, here's a funny thing in Judge Casso's court. For all you intelligent people out there, Judge Casso said in his ruling to terminate parental rights that he could not see how my ex-wife from 35 years ago had any reason to lie. despite the fact that we impeached the shit out of her on the stand. The guy's a fucking idiot, you know? So we impeached witnesses, and he said it didn't matter. And then our forensic nurse said there was no evidence of abuse in 40-some photos, and he says, well, she's not believable. Just pulls it out of thin air. Anyway, so Steve Walls, he recognizes that the kids love their parents, okay? So now they're in this position where they've marginalized us. They've kept us from having adequate visits. They've canceled visits every time they got a chance in the past. And they won't let me talk about anything. So I'm not allowed to explain what's going on from my viewpoint to my kids, all right? And so now you all got a fucking problem, and you think it's gonna go away, and you know it's not, because now the real problems come up where you've got two human beings that want to know what the fuck is going on, right? And you can lie all you want, but my daughter and my son know that we love them and we take care and we're always there whenever we can be, okay? They know that. So they know somebody is lying, and it's all you bitches, all right? And so we got Sara Hernandez there going, we just got to cancel the visits and we just got to get on with this and all this stuff. Well, cancel your own kids' visits, lady, because you can't handle the fact that you're abusing these two little kids. You're denying them adequate time with their parents. You've stood by while they were denied any meaningful interrelation, any meaningful days, holidays, birthdays. Neither I or my wife ever had our kids in more than 7 years for Christmas, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, New Year's, birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, holidays, and their own birthdays. We never had the kids one time. All right? They saw to that. And now those chickens are coming home to roost, and they have a mess on their hands, and this is not going to go away. Your names are not going to come off the fucking internet. I'm not going to quit talking about what you cocksuckers have done year after year. A bunch of fucking slime bags, okay? There's no worse people on the face of the fucking planet than you people who intentionally alienate children from their parents and lie to them. You lie to children, okay? And you make about $10,000 a month cash flow and matching funds from Title IV-E ASFA from the federal government for every month you keep a kid out of their home, okay? Now it's in appeal. So the bottom line is, you're going to get all the problems with the kids now that you created, that you aggravated, that you inflamed. Okay, you're going to get all those problems. And they're going to have more and more traumatic experience because of the bullshit that you created. Okay? So now, let's not leave Carissa Vela out of the picture. Because Carissa, you're either fucking low IQ to the max, or you're just a selfish bitch that goes to church over at Family Church and House Church in Independence, Oregon, and you get up and sing songs to your version of God, and you greedily and selfishly never allowed these kids, in conspiracy with DHS, you never allowed these kids to enjoy a holiday with their parents. In 8 years, you never sent a thank you note to my wife. She sent food home repeatedly with the kids. In 8 years, my wife never got a thank you card from Akha, while I got one or maybe even more than one, and drawings from Alum. And at the visits, it's very clear that Akha, who's 2 years younger than Alum, is standing on his neck because she's your little entitled angel at Alum's expense, and he's the underdog picking chicken, okay? So he's always having to defend himself because of how you have imprivileged Akha at his expense. She's your perfect little wonder child girl that you don't have, that you want, so you have to steal her from somebody else. And I told you in previous videos, this shit is going to come and bite your ass, okay? Your greed and your selfishness and your lack of compassion for her mother is not going to go out the door. It's not going to disappear. They're going to figure out what you did, that you were up to your neck in this shit, along with the rest of them, with Steve Walls and Havacost and Sara Scott, and that you would intentionally do this stuff and make sure that they never had a meaningful moment with their parents. And that shit's going to bite your bitch ass. I don't give a fuck what kind of numb-nutted zombie church you go to with that fucker Mark Senek, who can't answer for any of this shit. And you all go along with it. And guess what? You can't keep the stink from that shit from coming out into the world and going everywhere. And it's going to come back on you, okay? And those kids know they got parents. They know they got a farm. They know they got all kinds of siblings. And you know what about DHS? My kids fucking hate you motherfuckers. All of them. And when Akha and Anu get old enough and they figure out all the lying you cocksuckers have made to destroy their relationships and cause them sorrow, they're going to be saying, fuck you too. And you've opened yourself up to a civil suit. And who knows how this mop is going to flop, but you're just scum. And that includes you, Carissa, and their no-nut husband you have that isn't got balls enough to say, Carissa, you can't do this to those parents. What harm's it going to have if they have Christmas with their parents? They ain't got no fucking balls, okay? So I'm in court, and I'm watching everybody wring their hands about, on one hand, we want to cancel all the visits with the father and mother, and on the other hand, we got these problems with the kids. Well, they're not zombies, and now you guys have this shit show on your hands, and there's still an appeal in the court. And if confiscating these children, kids for cash, if that gets overturned, you are so fucked. You're fucked right now. You just don't know it because the chickens haven't all come home to roost yet. All right? So I couldn't get my attorney to say his wife's repeatedly called, always wants to talk to her kids, DHS stands in the way. He won't say it. I say, hey, I want to go up there and I want to talk about this because I wanted to say, look, you guys do what you're going to do, and I think you're going to regret it. But if I can talk to my kids, I can say, look, there's things going on here that I can't fix. And it might be that we're not able to see as much each other, but your farm's still there. Your brothers and sisters are still there. And the farm is always going to be there for you. And I'm going to always be out in the world working hard to make sure that life is good when you grow up. And there's things beyond my control, and let's make the best of it. But I don't get to have that conversation with my kids. So they've taken it on themselves to make all the problem and then try to solve all the problem on their own that they created, okay? And so it's like, I wanted to get up on the stand and say, this is what I'm thinking. I want to make the situation as best as possible for my kids and say, you know, look, this is what we got to go with right now. And I've always visited you, always loved you, always taken care of you, always got you whatever you wanted. And then you got this fucking douchebag Sara Scott go, well, when he visits the kids, it's always just transactional. You know, he gives them money. Fuck you, Sara. You're such a fucking cunt. You know, you stand up there in your shitty little state job and you insult people and you lie. There's a special place in hell for people like you. Okay? Tell me if I'm wrong. All right? And so anyway, my kids will grow up and they're going to learn how to say fuck all of you people. And you created a mess and now you're stuck with it because I'm only in the picture like an hour a week when I'm there and not working out of town. So I'm not be allowed to fix anything. So this mess is all on you guys. Sara Hernandez, Judge Hill, Sara Scott, Steve Walls, you created this shit storm, so now fix it. And when the appeal works its way through, we'll see what else is going to come down the pike. But it's very interesting because I think you are, number one, you're not going to be able to sleep well. Number two, I think you're going to find out that you caused this shit, okay? And you did everything in your possible ability to alienate these children, and you caused incredible sorrow for their mother. And that's unforgivable because it wasn't necessary, all right? It was done in spite and cruelty. And we can only hope that cruelty comes back to your lives in 7 measures, because that's what you dished out. And Carissa Vela, that includes you. It includes your little cowardly, weaselly pastor, Mark Sinek, Vela, who don't have any kind of moral compass. They just, oh, you know, I see pictures in the church and there's no kids playing with my kids. All right, they're isolated. And you create this anxiety or whatever, and we need permanency, and we need stability, and all this shit we caused, we'll blame it on the parents. Well, when our visits are over and you still have problems and there's going to be more problems, what are you going to do? Who are you going to blame it on them? You know, oh, this is all caused by the parents. No, fuck you. All right? You know? And Carissa Vela isn't smart enough to go get a real job, so all she is sort of like the zombie that DHS constantly brings foster children to because she's easy to manipulate and do what she's told, and they promised her that she gets Akha McDaniel as a prize as long as she keeps providing this service for all these foster kids that go through his mill that she gets paid for. And we don't take any government services. We don't get paid for shit, all right? We just get cost money by the government, all right? So it'll be interesting how this works out. Court was fairly comical today because you had all these people, like I said, wringing their hands about the problems they're now going to encounter. Well, good luck. You created the mess. You antagonized the mess. You did everything in your ability to alienate us from our own children. And you're somehow trying to figure out or say that this is all caused by the parents or the way that they're inconsistent to the visits, you know? And so it's like that, you know? So we'll see how it plays out. Just keep out going on being the shitty little people you are. That's all you know. I got a wonderful life, all right? I travel. I meet all kinds of great people working on their boats. I got a farm. I got kids. They're grown up. They're doing well. They're not making anybody any trouble. I've had a jillion different experiences in my life. I've traveled all over the world. And you'll still be the douchebags you are in Dallas, Oregon. In the KKK, Dallas, Oregon, where you hate non-white people and you ridicule the fact that they speak a different language, right? It'll be interesting. But I have no sympathy for any of you. And Akha and Alum, no matter what you do, they're going to know we're out there and that we're talking to them, and they're going to put 2 and 2 together and figure out who the shits were in all this picture. You know, canceling visits to the farm, doing this fake rat poison, you motherfuckers, bullshit. You know, just jerking things around, restaurant visits canceled at the last minute, and then saying, oh, the mother was confused, and then, oh, she was going to hit us. All this bullshit, you fucking assholes. You know, and you know what's even funnier? I have all kinds of mothers contact me, and they say, hey, we've seen your videos, and you've got a lot of experience with DHS Dallas, Oregon, and this is who my caseworker is, and she's a real asshole, and this is how they treat me, and Lorelle Gould this and Lorelle Gould that, and it's funny. And they write me and they say, do you have any more bumper stickers, and do you have any more literature, and what they ask all these questions, and yeah, it's pretty interesting, and we'll see how it all works out. And my older kids, they hate you people for what you've done to their lives and to their families and their relationships with their siblings. I'll give you an example. Opium is a wrestler at Dallas High School. It's her senior year. And she has camaraderie with Alun because he's in some wrestling at his school. But they won't let her visit his games because fucking Carissa Vela might be bringing other foster kids that she's making bucks off of to the wrestling match. So Opium can't watch her little brother wrestle. And this is the bullshit you fuckers do all the time, And Carissa, that includes you. You're just a fucking shit, And your bullshit church that you go to that somehow must ease your conscience about what you're doing while you rip off other people's kids because you needed a daughter. Well, you need to talk to XY chromosome dude about that, okay? You don't go coveting somebody else's daughter and then creating all these anxiety problems so that she's totally attached and has attachment disorder and all this bullshit you heap on her. And I bet you get paid extra money for that shit, dude, by creating all that shit and putting it over on that little girl. Anyway, the kids will grow up. Like I've said many a time, you'll still be the same fucks you are. All right? And you can't undo any of this shit you've done. So, to me, that's interesting. My life goes on. I have a pretty good time. I work. I enjoy friends. And, yeah. And you are the sorry asses you always were and always will be.